My billionaire CEO ex-husband needed emergency blood transfusion. The only match was his secret daughter I hid from him for 6 years. Your daughter is the only compatible donor in our database. Without a transfusion in the next 2 hours, the patient will die. I stared at Dr. Kim, my hands gripping the hospital corridor railing. The patient. They kept calling him the patient. Like using his name might kill me. Who is it? I asked, though part of me already knew. Dominic Castellano. The man who divorced me for being barren. The man who called me defective because I couldn't give him children. The man who married someone else before our divorce papers were even cold. He was dying 3 floors above me, and my 6-year-old daughter, his daughter, the child he spent years telling me I could never have, was the only person in this city with the rare blood type that could save him. Miss Morrison, I need your answer. Will you allow your daughter to donate? Have you ever had to decide whether to save the person who destroyed you? Have you ever been called broken, only to become the one person holding the pieces of someone else's life? This is the story of how I became my ex-husband's only hope, and he had no idea why. 30 minutes earlier, I had been living my carefully constructed life. The one I built from nothing after Dominic Castellano threw me away like a failed art authentication. My gallery, Morrison Art Authentication, occupied a converted warehouse in Tribeca with 20-foot ceilings and natural light that made even forgeries look beautiful for a moment. Until I examined them. Until I found the lies. I had gotten very good at finding lies. That Tuesday afternoon smelled like linseed oil and old canvas. I was bent over an 18th century painting, my magnifying glass catching the September sunlight, when my phone rang. Not my business line. My personal cell. The number I only gave to Sophie's school and close friends. Miss Morrison, this is Dr. Rachel Kim from Mount Sinai Hospital. I'm calling about your registration with the National Rare Blood Donor Program. My hand had frozen over the painting. When Sophie was 3, we discovered she had an unusual blood variant, AB negative with something called a VEL negative antigen. Rare enough that our pediatrician insisted we register with the National Blood Bank, just in case someone, somewhere, ever needed what only Sophie could give. I never imagined that someone would be her father. There's been a critical accident, Dr. Kim continued. A patient needs an emergency transfusion. Your daughter is the only match in our immediate database. What kind of accident? Car crash. Severe. The patient has lost a catastrophic amount of blood. Without a compatible donor, he won't survive the next 2 hours. In some of the vents, West died. The magnifying glass had slipped from my fingers. It shattered against the Italian marble floor I'd installed with my first real paycheck. The sound echoed through my gallery like a gunshot. Like the sound of my world breaking 6 years ago when Dominic's lawyer handed me divorce papers. Now I stood in Mount Sinai's sterile corridor, staring at Dr. Kim's expectant face, and I had to decide. Save the man who destroyed me, or let him die. I need to see him first, I heard myself say. Dr. Kim's professional mask slipped for just a moment. That's highly unusual, Miss Morrison. I need to see the patient before I make this decision. Something in my voice made her reconsider. Maybe it was the tremor I couldn't quite hide. Maybe it was the way my hand clutched my daughter so tightly that Sophie squeezed back, concerned. Mommy, you're hurting my hand. I loosened my grip and knelt down to Sophie's level. My beautiful girl. She had Dominic's golden eyes, the exact shade of honey in sunlight. The same eyes that used to look at me with love, before his family convinced him I was worthless. Baby, I need you to stay with Nurse Jennifer for a little while, okay? She has an iPad with all your favorite cartoons. Am I giving blood to the sick person? Maybe. Mommy needs to talk to the doctors first. Will it hurt them when they get my blood? My throat tightened. Even facing a needle, Sophie's first thought was whether she would hurt someone else. I had raised her to be kind, to think of others, to be everything her father's family wasn't. No, sweetheart, your blood would help them feel better, make them strong again. Like a superhero? Exactly like a superhero. Sophie's face lit up with that particular joy only 6-year-olds possess. The joy of believing you can save the world. I kissed her forehead and watched Nurse Jennifer lead her toward the family lounge, her small hand waving back at me. Then I followed Dr. Kim through a maze of corridors that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Each step felt like walking backward through time. 6 years melted away with every footfall. I was 26 again, standing in the Castellano penthouse, watching my marriage dissolve. I was 27, signing divorce papers with morning sickness I didn't yet understand. I was 28, holding 3 positive pregnancy tests, and crying, because the man who said I was barren would never know he was wrong. The patient is in critical condition, Dr. Kim said as we approached the ICU. He's unconscious but stable. For now. How did it happen? His car went off the road on the West Side Highway. Witnesses say he swerved to avoid another vehicle and hit the barrier. The impact ruptured his spleen and caused massive internal bleeding. An accident, just an accident. Not the universe's revenge, not karma catching up, just terrible timing and bad luck. Or maybe it was fate. Dr. Kim paused outside a private suite, the kind of room that costs more per night than most people's mortgages. Everything in Dominic's world had always been expensive, including his mistakes. His wife is inside, Dr. Kim said quietly. Of course she was. I pushed open the door and stepped into a room that looked more like a luxury hotel than intensive care. Soft lighting, tasteful artwork, a leather sofa by the window, and in the center, surrounded by beeping monitors and IV lines, lay Dominic Castellano. He looked smaller than I remembered. Unconscious and broken, he had none of the commanding presence that used to fill every room he entered. His dark hair was matted with blood. His face was pale beneath bruises and lacerations. His chest rose and fell with the mechanical rhythm of someone whose body was fighting to stay alive. I had loved this man. Loved him so completely that losing him had felt like losing myself. Now I felt nothing but a distant, clinical assessment. This was the man who threw me away. This was the man who chose his family's lies over my truth. This was the man who married someone else 6 weeks after our divorce and never looked back. Who are you? The voice came from the window. I turned to find Vanessa Ashworth Castellano watching me with the cold assessment of someone used to cataloging threats. She looked exactly like I remembered from the society pages. Tall, blonde, perfect. The kind of woman who wore Chanel to her husband's deathbed and made it look appropriate. But there was something new. Her hand rested on a swollen belly, 7, maybe 8 months pregnant. So Dominic had finally gotten what he wanted. An heir, a legacy, proof that he hadn't been the problem in our marriage. I'm Isabel Morrison, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm the mother of the potential blood donor. Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly. Morrison, that name sounds familiar. I'm an art authenticator. I work with collectors in your social circle. It wasn't a lie, just an incomplete truth. After the divorce, I had rebuilt myself completely. Finished my degree, built a reputation, became the person Dominic never believed I could be. The irony was that my specialty was detecting forgeries, spotting the beautiful lies that fooled everyone else. I had learned that skill the hard way. The doctors say your daughter is Dominic's only hope. Vanessa moved closer, her heels clicking on the tile floor. What an extraordinary coincidence. Blood types don't care about coincidence. No, but I do. She studied my face with the intensity of someone trying to place a half-remembered photograph. My husband has a rare blood marker. For your daughter to match it so precisely, one might wonder about the likelihood. My heart was hammering, but my face remained calm. Years of authenticating art in front of suspicious collectors had taught me to control my expressions, to never reveal what I was thinking. One might wonder about many things, I said, but right now, all that matters is whether you want your husband to live. Of course I want him to live. The Castellano empire can't function without its CEO. Vanessa's smile was ice. The question is, what do you want? Excuse me? For the blood donation, everyone wants something, Miss Morrison. Name your price. I stared at this woman who had everything I once had. The name, the ring, the penthouse, the man, and she thought it could all be reduced to a transaction. This isn't a negotiation, I said quietly. Everything is a negotiation. You have something I need. I'm prepared to pay handsomely for it. $50,000 for 1 pint of blood that will regenerate in a few weeks. The number hung in the air between us. $50,000. More than I made in 6 months when I first started my gallery, enough to cover Sophie's private school tuition for 2 years. Enough to pretend that Vanessa Castellano saw my daughter as a human being instead of a commodity. My daughter is not for sale. Your daughter is a child. She doesn't make this decision. You do. Vanessa's voice hardened. And I'm offering you more money than most people see in a year for something that costs you nothing. It costs me everything." The words came out before I could stop them. Vanessa's eyes sharpened with interest. "What does that mean?" "It means I need to think about this decision, and you offering me money isn't helping." I turned toward the door, but Vanessa's voice stopped me. "You know him, don't you? This isn't about coincidence at all." I looked back at her, at this woman, who had no idea she was standing in a hospital room with her husband's ex-wife, who had no idea the child she just tried to buy was her husband's daughter. "I know a lot of people, Mrs. Castellano. New York is smaller than you think. Then you should know that Dominic Castellano is not just any patient. He's a billionaire, a CEO, a man whose life affects thousands of employees and their families. Saving him isn't just a personal favor, it's a civic duty. Is that what you tell yourself? That his life matters more because he's rich?" Vanessa's perfect composure cracked slightly. "I tell myself that some people are more important than others. That's not cruelty, it's reality." "Then here's my reality, Mrs. Castellano. I'll make my decision based on what's best for my daughter. Not your husband's bank account, not his business empire, not even his life. My daughter comes first." I walked out before she could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. Behind me, I could hear Vanessa making a phone call, her voice sharp with irritation, as she reported the difficult donor mother to someone. Let her make calls. Let her throw money around. Let her pull whatever strings the Castellano family could pull. None of it would change the fundamental truth. I held all the power now. Dr. Kim was waiting in the hallway. "Miss Morrison, I need to be frank with you. We have less than 90 minutes. If you're not going to consent to the donation, I need to know now so we can explore other options." "What other options?" "You said my daughter is the only match. In our immediate database, yes. But we've put out calls to national and international registries. There's a possibility someone in California or even Europe might be compatible. But getting them here in time would be unlikely." "Unlikely? Medical speak for impossible." "I need more time," I said. "Time is the one thing we don't have." "Then I need 20 minutes. Can you give me that?" Dr. Kim checked her watch, calculated odds I couldn't see, and nodded. 20 minutes. Not a second more. I found my way to the hospital chapel, a small room with uncomfortable chairs and stained glass that filtered afternoon light into puddles of color on the floor. I sat in the back row and pulled out my phone. The number was saved under a name I hadn't called in 6 years. Professor Westfield, my mentor from Columbia. The man who recommended me for the authentication job that destroyed my marriage. He answered on the third ring. "Bell? Is that really you?" "Hi, Professor. I need a favor. A big one. Anything. You know that. The Thornfield authentication. 6 years ago. Do you still have the records?" There was a pause. "The Rembrandt? Of course. Why?" "I need you to send me everything. Photos, timestamps, witness statements. Everything that proves I was working, not anything else." Professor Westfield's voice gentled with understanding. "The divorce. Belle, I'm so sorry. I tried to reach you after it happened. I wanted to testify on your behalf if you needed. I didn't need testimony. I needed Dominic to wait 24 hours before signing divorce papers. He didn't." My voice was steady, clinical, "But I need the proof now. Can you send it to my email? Give me 15 minutes. I hung up and sat in the chapel silence. Around me, desperate people had carved their prayers into the space. You could feel them in the air. "Please save my mother. Let my son survive. Give us one more day." What was my prayer? "Please help me know what to do. Please help me protect my daughter. Please help me decide if the man who destroyed me deserves to be saved." My phone buzzed. An email from Professor Westfield with 12 attachments. I opened them one by one, my hands steady now. Photograph 1, timestamped 9:15 p.m. Me in Marcus Thornfield's suite, wearing jeans and a Columbia sweatshirt, examining a Rembrandt with a magnifying glass. In the background, clearly visible, was Marcus's wife Catherine, watching with interest. Photograph 2, 9:47 p.m. Me pointing to a section of the painting, Catherine leaning in to look. Marcus taking notes. Photograph 3, 10:11 p.m. Me shaking hands with both Marcus and Catherine. Professional, cordial, completely innocent. Security logs from the Plaza Hotel. Catherine Thornfield departed the building at 10:03 p.m. I departed at 10:58 p.m. Exactly as I had told Dominic. Exactly as he refused to believe. Authentication report. Signed by me, Marcus Thornfield, and Catherine Thornfield as witness. Dated and notarized. Everything I needed to prove my innocence. Everything that would have saved my marriage if Dominic had waited one single day before believing his grandmother's lies. But he hadn't waited. He had signed divorce papers. He had married Vanessa. He had moved on with his life while I was pregnant and alone and building myself back from nothing. Now he was dying, and I had to decide whether 6 years of pain outweighed 6 years of Sophie's questions about her father. Miss Morrison? I looked up to find an elderly woman standing in the chapel doorway. It took me a moment to recognize her. Eleanor Castellano, Dominic's grandmother, the architect of my destruction. She looked older than I remembered, frailer, but her eyes still held that calculating intelligence that had dismantled my marriage with surgical precision. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I might ask you the same question." Eleanor moved into the chapel with the careful steps of someone whose bones had grown brittle. "Though I suspect I know the answer. You're the donor mother." "How did you know?" "Vanessa called me." Described a woman in her early 30s, dark hair, Italian features, with the kind of composure that comes from facing down worse things than death. There aren't many women who fit that description and have reason to hesitate about saving Dominic's life. "You mean there aren't many ex-wives he destroyed?" Eleanor's lips thinned. "May I sit?" "It's a chapel. I don't own the chairs." She sat anyway, lowering herself with a soft grunt of pain. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched between us, filled with everything unsaid for 6 years. "I came to tell you the truth," Eleanor said finally. "The truth? From you? That's almost funny." "I lied about Marcus Thornfield." The words dropped into the silence, like stones into still water. I turned to stare at her. "What?" "I lied. The photographs were real. You were at the plaza that night. But I had someone doctor the timestamps on the text messages. I paid Marcus Thornfield's assistant to claim you had visited his suite alone multiple times. I manufactured the Cartier receipt." My hands clenched on the wooden pew. "You destroyed my marriage with deliberate lies." "Yes." "Why are you telling me this now?" Eleanor's hands trembled slightly in her lap. "Because my grandson is dying, and I find that impending death makes one reflective, honest. You should have been honest 6 years ago." 6 years ago, I convinced myself I was protecting Dominic. You were 26, poor, without family connections. Your father was a mechanic. Your mother was a public school teacher. You had no pedigree, no social standing, no ability to navigate the world my grandson lived in. So you decided I wasn't good enough. I decided you were a liability. Vanessa Ashworth was everything our family needed. Old money, social connections, a pharmaceutical empire that could merge with our hotel properties. She was the strategic choice. And how did that work out for you? Eleanor's laugh was bitter. I realized approximately 6 months into their marriage that Vanessa is a sociopath in Chanel. She married Dominic for the Castellano name and access to our social circle. She has made his life quietly miserable ever since. You reap what you sow. Indeed, Eleanor met my eyes directly. I sowed lies and reaped a grandson trapped in a loveless marriage. I sowed ambition and reaped a family empire built on misery. I sowed cruelty and reaped this. A moment where the only person who can save Dominic's life is the woman I destroyed. I'm not here to make you feel better about your choices. I'm not asking for absolution. I'm asking you to save my grandson's life despite what I did to yours. Why should I? Because 6 years ago, you loved him. Because I believe, despite everything, you're a better person than I ever was. I looked at this woman who had dismantled my life with careful precision, who had manufactured evidence and paid witnesses and orchestrated my divorce like a corporate takeover. She looked small now, old, frightened, but I didn't feel sorry for her. "If I do this," I said slowly, "if I let Sophie donate her blood, I want something in return. Name it. I want Dominic to know the truth. All of it. The lies you told. The evidence you fabricated. I want him to know exactly what he threw away and why. Done? And I want him to know about Sophie." Eleanor's eyes widened. "Sophie is his daughter." Conceived 2 weeks before he served me with divorce papers. Born 8 months after he married Vanessa. She has his eyes, his rare blood type, and absolutely no idea who her father is. The color drained from Eleanor's face. I have a great-granddaughter? You have nothing. You lost the right to her when you destroyed her parents' marriage. Isabel, Belle, I cannot undo the past. But I swear to you on the Castellano name, I will make sure Dominic knows everything. The lies, the truth, the daughter he never knew existed. Your swears mean nothing to me. Then let me prove it with actions. Let me fix what I broke. You can't fix this. Some things, once broken, stay broken. Then let me try anyway. I stood up, my decision made. I'm not doing this for you. I'm not even doing it for Dominic. I'm doing it because my daughter deserves to know she saved a life. Because I won't let your poison turn me into someone who lets people die out of spite. Because I want Sophie to see that being strong doesn't mean being cruel. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank the fact that I'm a better person than your family deserves. I walked out of the chapel and found Dr. Kim pacing the hallway. I'll do it, I said. Sophie can donate. The relief on Dr. Kim's face was immediate. Thank you, Miss Morrison. I'll prepare the pediatric transfusion suite immediately. 20 minutes later, I sat beside Sophie in a room painted with cheerful murals of cartoon animals. She was remarkably brave for a 6-year-old, barely flinching when the nurse inserted the IV line. Does it hurt, Mommy? Just a little pinch, baby. You're doing so well. Is my blood really going to save someone? Yes, sweetheart. You're a real superhero today. Sophie beamed at that. She watched with fascination as her blood began flowing through the clear tubes, rich and red, and completely unaware of the life it was about to save. Will I get to meet the person? Sophie asked. My throat tightened. Maybe someday. I hope so. I want to see if they have eyes like mine. The nurse's hand faltered for just a moment. She looked at me with sudden understanding. I shook my head slightly. Not now. Not here. For the next 30 minutes, I watched my daughter's blood flow into collection bags. Each drop was a piece of Dominic's life being preserved. Each moment was a choice I couldn't take back. When it was done, Sophie got a juice box, graham crackers, and a sticker that said, I donated blood today. She wore it proudly, chattering about how she was definitely a superhero now, and could she please get a cape. We'll see about the cape, I said, holding her close. She was already getting sleepy from the donation, her head heavy on my shoulder. Dr. Kim appeared in the doorway. Miss Morrison, the transfusion is underway. Mr. Castellano's vitals are already stabilizing. You saved his life. Sophie saved his life. I just signed the paperwork. Still, on behalf of the hospital and the Castellano family, thank you. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Behind Dr. Kim, I could see nurses rushing with purpose, machines beeping with renewed urgency. The machinery of life-saving in full motion. Because of my daughter. Because of me. Because I had chosen mercy over revenge. I just hoped it was the right choice. Miss Morrison, Mr. Castellano is asking to meet the donor. He's conscious now, and insisting on thanking her personally. Everything inside me went cold. No. I understand it's unusual, but... I said no. My daughter has been through enough today. She needs rest. Of course. I'll let him know. Dr. Kim hesitated. Though I should mention, he was quite insistent. And Mrs. Castellano has been making inquiries about your relationship to the family. There is no relationship. Miss Morrison. Dr. Kim's voice dropped lower. I've been a doctor for 15 years. I recognize rare genetic markers when I see them. Your daughter has Mr. Castellano's exact blood profile, not similar. Exact. Including secondary markers that are nearly impossible to match unless there's direct genetic relation. Your point? My point is that secrets in hospitals have a way of coming out. You might want to control how this particular truth emerges. I'll take that under advisement. I gathered Sophie into my arms. She was already half asleep, exhausted from the donation and the excitement and the sugar from the juice box. Her small hand clutched the superhero sticker like a trophy. We were almost to the elevator when a voice stopped me. Miss Morrison, wait. Vanessa Castellano stood in the hallway, her perfect composure finally showing cracks. Her makeup was smudged. Her hair was disheveled. For the first time, she looked like someone whose husband had almost died. You need to leave, she said. Now. We're leaving. As you can see. Dominic is asking for you. For the donor. He wants to thank her personally. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. I can't have you here when he does. Why not? Afraid he'll recognize me? Something flickered across Vanessa's face. Should he recognize you? Ask his grandmother. Understanding dawned slowly, then all at once. Vanessa's face went white, then red with fury. You're her. You're the first wife. The one who, she stopped herself, glancing at Sophie. The one who what, Mrs. Castellano? The one who cheated? Is that what he told you? Eleanor told me. She said Dominic's first marriage ended because his wife had an affair. Eleanor lied. But then, she's very good at that. You should ask her about it sometime. Vanessa stepped closer, her voice dropping to a vicious whisper. You manipulated this entire situation. You knew Dominic would need blood. You positioned your daughter. My daughter has been registered with the Rare Blood Bank for 3 years, long before your husband decided to drive his car into a barrier. Or was it not an accident? Vanessa's face went pale. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm taking my daughter home. Dominic deserves to know if that child is his. Dominic deserves exactly what he gave me 6 years ago. Nothing but questions, and no chance to answer them. I stepped into the elevator, but Vanessa's hand shot out, stopping the doors. You can't just leave. If that child is Dominic's daughter, he has rights. He had rights. He lost them when he chose your family's lies over my truth. When he signed divorce papers without waiting for proof. When he married you before our divorce was even final. I'll tell him. The moment he's strong enough, I'll tell him everything. Go ahead. Tell him his ex-wife saved his life. Tell him the woman he called barren has a 6-year-old daughter with his rare blood type. Tell him whatever you want. I met her eyes steadily. But you and I both know what happens then. He'll do the math. He'll ask questions. And your perfect marriage to your perfect strategic husband will be over. The elevator doors closed on Vanessa's shocked face. Sophie stirred in my arms. Mommy, why was that lady angry? Some people don't like it when they're not in control, baby. She seemed mean. She's complicated. I don't like her. You don't have to. The elevator descended toward the ground floor, toward the exit, toward escape. I had done what I came to do. Sophie had saved a life. I had made my choice. Now we could leave and never look back. Except I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Dominic was alive. He was conscious. And he was asking questions about the 6-year-old girl who saved his life with blood that matched his own. The truth was coming, whether I wanted it to or not. We were in the lobby when I heard it. Footsteps. Fast. Desperate. I turned to find a nurse running toward us. Miss Morrison, please wait. Mr. Castellano, he's what? He saw the donor registration form. Your daughter's name and birth date. He's demanding to speak with you. He's trying to get out of bed. If he tears his sutures. That's not my problem. Please. Just 2 minutes. He's going to hurt himself. I looked down at Sophie, sleeping peacefully against my shoulder. Then back at the nurse, whose desperation was genuine. Against every instinct, I nodded. 2 minutes. Not 1 second more. The nurse led me back to the elevator, back up to the ICU floor, back toward the man I had spent 6 years trying to forget. Dominic's room was chaos when we arrived. He was sitting up in bed, an IV pole clutched in one hand, his face gray with pain, but his jaw set with determination. 2 nurses were trying to ease him back down. Vanessa was shouting about his health. Dr. Kim was threatening sedation. And then he saw me. Everyone in the room went silent. Dominic Castellano stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. His golden eyes, the same eyes I saw every day in my daughter's face, were wide with shock and something else. Recognition, disbelief, hope. Isabel, he said, his voice rough from intubation. It's really you. Mr. Castellano, you should be resting. The donor, Sophie Morrison, born March 15th, 6 years old. His eyes moved to the child in my arms. Is she? This conversation is not happening in a hospital room with an audience. Then where, when? Isabel, please. I need to know. I looked at the man who had destroyed me, who had called me barren and defective, who had thrown me away for a lie and married someone else within weeks. He looked desperate now, broken, human. I hated that I felt anything at all. You need to heal, I said quietly. We'll talk when you're strong enough to hear what I have to say. Is she mine? The question hung in the air. Vanessa made a small sound of distress. The nurses froze. Dr. Kim looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Sophie shifted in my arms, her eyes opening slowly. Mommy? Where are we? And just like that, the decision was taken from me. Sophie looked around the room with sleepy confusion. Her gaze landed on Dominic, and she smiled with the innocent friendliness of a child who didn't understand the magnitude of this moment. Hi, are you the sick person I helped? Dominic's voice cracked. Yes, thank you for saving my life. You're welcome, you have pretty eyes. Sophie studied him with the artistic attention to detail she brought to everything. Like mine? See? She pointed to her own golden eyes. Then back to his, making the connection that adults were dancing around. Nobody else has eyes like mine, Sophie continued. Mommy says I got them from someone special. Did you know someone with special eyes too? If you believe in karma, that broken things can be made whole, and that truth always finds a way to the surface, hit that like button right now. Because what happens next will change everything. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Belle should have told Dominic about Sophie 6 years ago, or was she right to keep it secret? I need to know what you think. Dominic's face had gone completely white. His hand gripped the bed rail so hard his knuckles were bloodless. How old are you, sweetheart? He asked Sophie, his voice barely above a whisper. 6. My birthday was in March. I got a paint set and real canvas and... Dominic. Vanessa's voice cut through like ice. Don't. But he wasn't looking at his wife. He was looking at Sophie, doing the math, counting back, realizing. Isabel, he said, his eyes moving to mine. Please, is she mine? I could have lied. Could have said it was a coincidence. Could have grabbed Sophie and run and never looked back. But I was tired of lies, tired of protecting the feelings of people who had destroyed me, tired of hiding the truth to make everyone else comfortable. Yes, I said simply. She's yours. The room exploded. Vanessa's shriek of rage. Nurses gasping. Dr. Kim trying to restore order. But I only saw Dominic. Saw the shock, the disbelief, the devastation, the wonder, all crossing his face in rapid succession. I have a daughter. His voice broke on the word. We have a daughter. No, I have a daughter. You have a biological connection. There's a difference. Isabel. 6 years, Dominic. 6 years you could have known her. 6 years of birthdays and first words and first steps. You missed all of it because you chose to believe lies instead of waiting one day for the truth. What truth? What are you talking about? Eleanor's voice came from the doorway. The truth that I lied about everything. The affair that never happened. The evidence I manufactured to destroy your marriage. The wife you threw away for absolutely nothing. Dominic turned to his grandmother, confusion and dawning horror on his face. What? I lied, Dominic. About Isabel and Marcus Thornfield. About the text messages. About all of it. I fabricated evidence to make you divorce her so you'd marry Vanessa and secure the Ashworth merger. You did what? I destroyed your marriage on purpose. And Isabel was pregnant when you divorced her. You've had a daughter for 6 years and never knew because you believed my lies without question. The machines around Dominic started beeping frantically, his heart rate spiking, his blood pressure plummeting. Dr. Kim rushed forward. Everyone out. Now. He's going into shock. Nurses flooded the room. I clutched Sophie tighter and backed toward the door. The last thing I saw before the door closed was Dominic's face, staring at me with absolute devastation as the truth finally destroyed him the way it had destroyed me 6 years ago. Mommy, Sophie said quietly. Is that man my daddy? I looked down at my beautiful, perceptive daughter. There was no point lying now. Yes, baby, that's her daddy. Then why didn't I know him before? How do you explain to a 6-year-old that her father chose lies over love? That he threw away her mother without a second thought? That sometimes the people who are supposed to love you hurt you worse than strangers ever could? Because sometimes, I said carefully, people make mistakes they can't fix. And by the time they realize what they've done, it's too late. Is it too late now? I looked back at the closed ICU door. Behind it, Dominic was learning that everything he thought he knew was a lie. that the woman he divorced was innocent, that the child he spent years wishing for had existed all along. I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know. We left the hospital for the second time. This time no one stopped us. In the taxi home, Sophie fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted from the day's events. She had no idea her entire world had just shifted, that the father she'd only known as an absence now had a name and a face, and a devastating reason for never being there. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Dominic. Eleanor gave me your number. Please don't block me. I need to talk to you. I need to know everything. About Sophie. About the lies. About what really happened. Please, Belle. Please give me a chance to understand what I destroyed." I stared at the text for a long moment. Then I turned off my phone and held my daughter close. Dominic Castellano wanted a chance to understand. But understanding doesn't undo 6 years. It doesn't erase the word Baron said with such contempt. It doesn't take back the divorce papers, or the rushed remarriage, or the absolute certainty that I was lying. Understanding was too little, too late. Or was it? 3 days passed before I turned my phone back on. 3 days of Sophie asking questions I didn't know how to answer. 3 days of screening calls from numbers I didn't recognize. 3 days of living in the careful routine I had built, pretending that everything hadn't just exploded into chaos. On the 4th morning, I made the mistake of checking my voicemail. 47 messages. The first was from Dominic's lawyer, professionally requesting a meeting to discuss paternity and potential custody arrangements. I deleted it immediately. The second was from Vanessa, her voice tight with barely controlled rage. "You need to call me back immediately. We need to discuss your daughter's future and what kind of arrangement we can come to that benefits everyone involved. Dominic is not thinking clearly right now, and I'm sure we can work something out that." Delete. The third was Dominic himself. "Belle, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but please, I need to understand what happened. Eleanor told me everything, the lies, the fabricated evidence, all of it. I have Professor Westfield's authentication records now. I've seen the proof that you were innocent. I've seen the timestamps, the photographs, everything that would have saved our marriage if I had just waited one day. One day, Belle. That's all it would have taken. And I didn't wait. I chose to believe the worst instead of trusting you. I destroyed us for nothing, and now I find out we have a daughter. A 6-year-old daughter I've never met. Please call me back. Please give me a chance to know her, to apologize, to try to fix this. Please." His voice cracked on that last word. I could hear tears he was trying to hide, pain that was 6 years too late. I deleted the message. The 4th message was also Dominic, and the 5th, and the 10th. Each one more desperate than the last, each one begging for a chance to talk, to explain, to understand, to meet Sophie, to be her father. By message 23, his voice had changed. Steadier, more determined. "Belle, I'm not going to stop calling. I'm not going to give up. That's what I did 6 years ago, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. I gave up on you, on us, on the truth. I won't make that mistake again. Sophie is my daughter. I have missed 6 years of her life, and I will not miss one more day. So you can delete these messages. You can block my number. You can run as far as you want. But I will find a way to be part of her life. Not because I'm rich. Not because I can hire lawyers. But because she deserves to know her father. And I deserve a chance to be the man I should have been 6 years ago. Call me back, Belle, please." I sat on my apartment floor, phone in hand, and felt the walls I had spent 6 years building start to crack. Sophie found me there 20 minutes later. She was wearing her favorite paint-stained overalls and carrying her sketchbook. "Mommy, can we call Daddy today?" My head snapped up. "What?" "My daddy. The man from the hospital. Can we call him? I want to show him my paintings." "Sophie, baby, it's complicated." "Why is it complicated? You said he's my daddy. Don't daddies want to see their kids' paintings?" Out of the mouths of children. Such simple logic, such devastating truth. "Some daddies do," I said carefully. "But your daddy and I have a lot of grown-up things to work out first." "Like what?" "Like, whether it's safe for you to know him, whether he's going to be reliable, whether he's going to leave again." I stared at my 6-year-old daughter, who had somehow understood exactly what I was afraid of. "Yes, I admitted. Whether he's going to leave again. Sophie climbed into my lap, all sharp elbows and artistic intensity. Zoe's daddy left. Her mommy says some daddies aren't good at staying, but Zoe still gets to see him on weekends. Is my daddy good at staying? I don't know anymore, baby. He used to be. Then he wasn't. And now I don't know. Maybe we should ask him. It's not that simple. Why not? If you want to know something, you ask. That's what you always tell me. I hugged my daughter close, breathing in the scent of paint and strawberry shampoo and childhood innocence. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just notice it more when I say things you don't want to hear. She wasn't wrong. That afternoon, I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I looked up Dominic Castellano online. The search results were immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of articles, photographs, society page mentions, and recent headlines that made my stomach clench. Castellano CEO hospitalized after mysterious crash. Billionaire Dominic Castellano recovering after near-fatal accident. Sources say Castellano marriage in trouble after hospital revelation. I clicked on the last one. The article was pure speculation, citing anonymous sources who claimed Dominic and Vanessa had been seen arguing in the hospital. That Vanessa had moved out of their penthouse. That divorce lawyers had been contacted. The comments section was worse. Another billionaire marriage bites the dust. Bet he was cheating. They always cheat. I heard his ex-wife showed up at the hospital, probably trying to get money now that he's vulnerable. I closed the browser before I could read more. My phone rang. Another unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Miss Morrison, this is Rebecca Chin from the New York Times. I'm doing a piece on Dominic Castellano's accident and recovery, and I understand your daughter was the blood donor who saved his life. I'd love to get a statement from you about. I hung up. 5 minutes later, another call. A different reporter. Same questions. I blocked the number. This was going to be my life now. Reporters, speculation. My daughter's face potentially plastered across tabloids because her father was a billionaire and our story was scandalous enough to sell papers. I had to protect her. Whatever else happened, I had to protect Sophie from this circus. My phone buzzed with a text from yet another unknown number. Belle, it's Dominic. I know you're getting calls from reporters. I've hired a publicist to shut it down. No one will have your contact information. No one will photograph Sophie. I'm handling it. You don't have to deal with this alone anymore. Please let me help. Please let me be there for both of you. I'm begging you. I stared at the text for a long moment. Then I typed a response. Morrison Art Gallery. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone. Don't bring lawyers or publicists or anyone from your family. Just you. We talk. That's all I'm promising. His response was immediate. I'll be there. Thank you, Belle. Thank you for giving me this chance. I turned off my phone again and tried not to think about what I had just agreed to. The next day, I sent Sophie to her friend Zoe's house for a playdate. I told myself it was because I needed to have this conversation without little ears listening. The truth was I couldn't bear to have Sophie watch me face the man who destroyed me. At 1:55 p.m., I was in my gallery, pretending to examine a disputed Caravaggio that a collector wanted authenticated. My hands were steady on the magnifying glass. My breathing was controlled. Everything about my exterior said calm, professional, and control. Inside, I was 17 again, waiting for Dominic to pick me up for our first date. Nervous and hopeful and terrified all at once. At exactly 2 p.m., the gallery door opened. Dominic Castellano walked in, and for a moment, time folded in on itself. He looked so much like the man I married. Dark suit, perfect hair. That commanding presence that made every room feel smaller. But there were differences too. Lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. Gray at his temples. A wariness in the way he moved, like he expected me to throw him out at any moment. Belle, he said quietly, thank you for seeing me. You have 1 hour. Not a minute more. I'll take whatever you'll give me. We stood on opposite sides of my gallery. 20 feet of space and 6 years of damage between us. You look good, he said. Successful. This gallery, it's incredible. Everything you said you wanted to build. I didn't build it for your approval. I know. I'm proud of you. For becoming this. For succeeding despite everything I did to break you. You didn't break me. You tried, but I rebuilt myself into something stronger. I can see that. The silence stretched. Outside, New York traffic hummed. Inside, the air conditioning created a soft white noise that filled the space between words. Sophie is beautiful, Dominic said finally. She has your smile, your artistic eye, and your eyes, your blood type, your stubborn streak. Can I see pictures? Of her growing up? I know I don't deserve to, but... I pulled out my phone, opened my photo album, walked across the gallery, and handed it to him without a word. Dominic's hands shook as he scrolled through 6 years of Sophie's life. I watched his face crumble with each image. Sophie, as a newborn, tiny, and wrinkled, and perfect. Sophie's first birthday, covered in cake. Sophie's first day of school, missing her front teeth and grinning with nervous excitement. Sophie at the beach. Sophie painting. Sophie, being Sophie in 1,000 captured moments. I missed all of this, he whispered. Every single moment. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? When you found out you were pregnant, why didn't you call? Are you seriously asking me that question? Yes. I need to understand. I laughed, and it was not a kind sound. You want to understand? Fine. Let me paint you a picture, Dominic. 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized, I took a pregnancy test. Actually, I took 7 pregnancy tests because I couldn't believe it. The woman you divorced for being barren was pregnant. The irony was almost funny. Almost. I walked to the window, my back to him. It was easier to say this without seeing his face. I thought about calling you. I picked up the phone a dozen times. But then I remembered the things you said to me. Barren, defective, unable to give you what you needed. I remembered how you looked at me the day you served divorce papers. Like I was worthless. Like our entire marriage had been a waste of your time. Belle, I'm not finished. I remembered how you married Vanessa 6 weeks later. 6 weeks, Dominic. Our divorce wasn't even final, and you were already planning your new life with someone who could give you what I supposedly couldn't. So I asked myself, why would I tell you about this baby? So you could accuse me of lying? Of trying to trap you? Of faking a pregnancy to get money? I would never have. Wouldn't you? You believed I was having an affair based on fabricated evidence. You believed your grandmother's lies without question. You threw away 2 years of marriage without giving me one chance to defend myself. So yes, Dominic, I think you absolutely would have accused me of lying about the pregnancy too. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. You're right. I would have. 6 years ago. I was so convinced you had betrayed me that I would have questioned everything, even a baby, especially a baby. And that's the part I can't forgive myself for. Not the divorce, not believing Eleanor's lies, but the fact that you're right, I would have accused you of trying to trap me. I would have demanded a paternity test. I would have made your pregnancy as miserable as I made our divorce. So now you understand why I didn't tell you. I understand. But Belle, I'm not that man anymore. I turned to face him. Aren't you? You're still married to Vanessa. Still living the life your family wanted for you. Still the CEO of a billion-dollar empire. What exactly has changed? Everything. Everything has changed. Dominic set my phone down carefully and took a step toward me. I've spent 6 years in a marriage based on lies, wishing I was with you. 6 years knowing I made a terrible mistake, but convincing myself it was too late to fix it. 6 years being absolutely miserable while pretending everything was fine. That's not my problem. I know, but it's the truth. Vanessa and I, we have nothing. No connection, no affection, nothing but a business arrangement that benefits our families. She married me for the Castellano name. I married her because Eleanor convinced me it was the strategic choice after you betrayed me, which you never did. No, I never did. I have the authentication records now. Professor Westfield sent me everything. The photographs with timestamps. The security logs. Catherine Thornfield's witness statement. Everything that proves you were working that night, not having an affair. Everything that would have saved our marriage if I had waited 24 hours. But you didn't wait. No, I didn't wait. I chose to believe the worst of you instead of trusting the woman I claimed to love. And that failure, that's on me. Not Eleanor, not Vanessa, me. I destroyed us because I was weak and stupid and too concerned with what my family wanted. He took another step closer. I held my ground. Belle, I can't undo the past. I can't give you back the pregnancy I should have been there for. I can't be there for Sophie's birth, or her first steps, or her first words. I missed all of that because of my own stupidity, but I'm here now. And I'm asking, no, I'm begging for a chance to be her father. You think you can just walk into her life after 6 years and play daddy? No. I think I can earn my way into her life by proving I've changed. By being reliable and present in everything I wasn't 6 years ago. And what about Vanessa, your pregnant wife? Dominic's face hardened. I filed for divorce. The papers were served this morning. My stomach dropped. You what? I'm divorcing Vanessa. Our marriage is over. It's been over for years, but now it's official. She's pregnant, Dominic. You're leaving your pregnant wife. She's 7 months pregnant, with a child I'll support financially and emotionally for the rest of my life. But I won't stay married to someone I don't love. Someone who doesn't love me. Someone I married because I was running from the biggest mistake I ever made. I'm not going to be the reason you blow up your marriage. You're not the reason. The lies are the reason. The misery is the reason. The fact that I've been in love with you for 6 years while married to someone else is the reason. The words hung in the air between us. Dangerous, devastating, too late. Don't, I said quietly. Don't tell me you love me. Don't make this about us when it needs to be about Sophie. It's about both. Belle, we have a daughter together. We have a history. We have nothing. You made sure of that 6 years ago. Then let me build something new. Let me prove I've changed. How? By divorcing your pregnant wife and disrupting Sophie's entire life? By bringing chaos and reporters and scandal into the peaceful existence I've built for her? By being present, by showing up, by proving through actions, not words, that I'm worth knowing. I walked to my desk and sat down, suddenly exhausted. What do you want from me, Dominic? I want to meet Sophie. Really meet her. Not in a hospital room with an audience. Just talk to her. Get to know her. Let her get to know me. She already knows you're her father. She's been asking to call you. Dominic's face lit up with such hope it was painful to witness. She has? She wants to show you her paintings. She wants to know if you're good at staying or if you're the kind of daddy who leaves. What did you tell her? I told her I don't know anymore. That you used to be good at staying, then you weren't, and now I don't know. Dominic's voice was barely a whisper. Let me prove I'm good at staying. Please, Belle. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm just asking for a chance to know my daughter. I thought about Sophie's simple logic. If you want to know something, you ask. If you want to see if someone will stay, you give them the chance to prove it. One meeting, I said finally. Supervised. At a neutral location. You get 1 hour to talk to her. To answer her questions. To see if you can handle being her father. Thank you. But Dominic, if you hurt her, if you disappoint her, if you promise to be there and then disappear when it gets hard, I will make sure you never see her again. Do you understand? I understand. I'm not protecting you anymore. I'm protecting her. She's the only thing that matters. She's the only thing that matters to me too. I pulled out my phone and typed a message. Saturday, Golden Gate Park, 2 p.m. Don't be late. I'll be there an hour early. Don't. Be on time. Not early. Not late. Exactly on time. That's the first test. Dominic nodded, understanding. Reliability started with something as simple as punctuality. He moved toward the door, then hesitated. Belle, can I ask you something? What? Do you hate me? I considered the question, turned it over in my mind, examined it like I would examine a painting for authenticity. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. Hate requires energy I don't have. Hate means I still feel something. I don't. You're just the man who used to be my husband. The biological father of my daughter, nothing more. The words hit him like a physical blow. I could see it in the way his shoulders sagged, his face fell. That's worse than hate, he said quietly. Yes, it is. He left without another word. I sat alone in my gallery, surrounded by art and authentication equipment and the careful life I had built, and wondered if I had just made a terrible mistake. Saturday arrived too quickly, and not quickly enough. I had explained to Sophie that she was going to meet her father, really meet him, talk to him, get to know him. Her excitement was immediate and overwhelming. Can I bring my paintings? Can I show him my favorite colors? Can I ask him if he likes dinosaurs? You can ask him anything you want, baby. Does he know about art? Do you think he'll like my paintings? He knows a lot about art. I used to teach him how to really see paintings, how to understand what the artist was feeling. Sophie had looked at me with that too perceptive gaze. Did you love him? When you were married? Yes. Very much. Do you love him now? Out of the mouths of children. Always the questions that cut to the heart. I don't know, Sophie. That's a very complicated question. Zoe's mom says love isn't complicated. You either do or you don't. Zoe's mom is smarter than me. Now we sat on a park bench near the playground, waiting. Sophie was wearing her favorite dress, the one with paint stains that I couldn't quite wash out. She had insisted on bringing her sketchbook and 3 of her best paintings, carefully rolled and tied with ribbon. At exactly 2 p.m., Dominic appeared. He looked different than he had in my gallery. Less formal, jeans and a button-down shirt, casual but not trying too hard. In his hands, he carried a wrapped box and an expression of absolute terror. "Hi," he said, his voice slightly unsteady. "You're on time," I observed. "You said that was the first test." Sophie looked between us with interest. Then she stood up, walked directly to Dominic, and extended her small hand. "Hello, I'm Sophie Marie Morrison. I'm 6 years old. I'm an artist. Those are my credentials." Dominic's laugh was surprised and delighted. He shook her hand with appropriate seriousness. "Hello, Sophie Marie Morrison. I'm Dominic Castellano. I'm 42 years old. I run a hotel company. Those are my considerably less impressive credentials." "Mommy says you know about art." "Your mommy taught me everything I know about art. Before I met her, I just looked at paintings. After I met her, I learned to see them." Sophie considered this. "That's a good answer. Do you want to see my paintings?" I would love nothing more. They sat on the park bench, and Sophie carefully unrolled her paintings. I watched from a few feet away, giving them space but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Sophie's first painting was an abstract explosion of colors. Reds and yellows and oranges all bleeding into each other. "This one is called Anger and Joy Fighting," Sophie explained. "See how the red is trying to take over, but the yellow keeps pushing back? That's because sometimes when you're angry, you have to remember there's still joy somewhere if you look hard enough." Dominic studied the painting with the same serious attention he probably gave to million-dollar business deals. "The technique here is remarkable. The way you've blended the colors, so they're fighting but also becoming something new together. That's sophisticated understanding for someone your age." Sophie beamed. "Mommy says I have an old soul." "Your mommy is right." The second painting was softer. Blues and purples and whites creating something that looked almost like a night sky. "This is called Missing Something You Never Had," Sophie said. "It's about when you feel sad for something you can't even remember. Like, I used to feel sad that I didn't have a daddy, but I didn't really know what having a daddy was like, so I was missing something I never had." The shift in emotional tone was immediate. Dominic's eyes filled with tears. He tried to blink away. "Sophie, His voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there. That you spent 6 years missing something you should have had." "It's okay. Mommy says sometimes people make mistakes they can't fix, but maybe you can fix it now?" "I'm going to try. I'm going to try so hard to fix it." The third painting was the most complex. A tree with deep roots and spreading branches, each branch a different color. "This is my family tree," Sophie explained. "The roots are where we come from. The branches are where we're going. See the gold branch here? That's you. I painted it last week after we met at the hospital." Dominic reached out and gently touched the golden branch. "Can I keep this? This painting?" "Really? You want it?" "It's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me." Sophie looked at me for permission. I nodded slightly. "Okay, but you have to promise to hang it somewhere you'll see it every day, and you have to send me a picture of where you put it." "I promise. I'll hang it in my office where I can see it whenever I look up from work." They talked for another 40 minutes. Sophie asked questions with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Do you like dinosaurs? What's your favorite color? Have you ever been to space? Do you think cats are smarter than dogs?" Dominic answered each question with genuine thought and interest. He asked questions too. "What do you want to be when you grow up? What's your favorite subject in school?" If you could paint anything in the world, what would it be? I watched them discover each other. Watched Sophie's wariness melt into comfort. Watched Dominic transform from terrified stranger to engaged father right before my eyes. When our hour was up, Sophie hugged him goodbye with the same spontaneous affection she showed everyone she liked. "Can I see you again?" she asked. "I would love that, if your mom says it's okay." Sophie turned to me with pleading eyes. "Mommy, can we see Daddy again, please?" Daddy. Not Dominic. Not the man from the hospital. Daddy. "We'll see," I said carefully. After Sophie ran off to play on the swings, Dominic approached me with careful hope. "Thank you, for this, for her, for everything. Don't thank me yet. One good meeting doesn't make you a father." "I know, but it's a start. What was in the box you brought?" He looked embarrassed. I wasn't sure what 6-year-old girls like. So I got her an art set. Professional quality paints and brushes and canvas. Probably too advanced for her age, but I thought, she'll love it. "Can I see her again? Next weekend maybe? Or sooner if you'll allow it?" I thought about Sophie's joy. Her easy acceptance. Her golden eyes that matched his exactly. "Next Saturday. Same time, same place. We'll see how consistent you can be. I'll be here. On time. Every time you allow it. We'll see." As I watched him walk away, Sophie came running back, breathless and excited. "Mommy, I like him. He's nice. And he really looked at my paintings. Not like when Zoe's uncle pretends to look, but is really checking his phone. Daddy really saw them. I noticed that too. Can he come to my art show next month? At school? I want him to see all my paintings, not just 3. My heart clenched. Let's take it slow, baby. See if he keeps showing up. He will, I can tell. How can you tell? Because when he looked at my family tree painting, he cried a little. People who cry at paintings are people who feel things, and people who feel things don't leave. I pulled my daughter close, wondering when she had become so wise. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. "Thank you for today. Sophie is extraordinary, smart and funny and talented and everything I could have hoped for. I know I don't deserve to know her. I know one good afternoon doesn't make up for 6 years of absence. But I swear to you, Belle, I will show up. Every time. On time. For as long as you'll let me. She deserves a father who sees her. Who really sees her the way you taught me to see art. I won't let her down. I won't let you down. Not again." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Actions, Dominic. Not words. Show me through actions." His response was immediate. "Every day. I'll show you every day. If you're getting emotional right now, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button because I share stories like this every single week. Stories about second chances, about broken things being restored, about love that survives impossible odds. And drop a comment telling me, do you think Dominic deserves a second chance with Sophie? What about with Belle? Can trust be rebuilt after it's been shattered? I read every single comment and I want to know what you think." The next Saturday, Dominic arrived at exactly 2 p.m. again. This time he brought a portfolio of photographs. His childhood, his parents, his grandmother before she became the woman who destroyed my marriage. "I thought Sophie might want to know where she comes from," he explained. "The good parts of the Castellano family history, before everything became about money and mergers and strategic alliances." We sat on the same park bench. Sophie studied each photograph with artistic intensity. "You looked sad as a kid," she observed, pointing to a photo of 10-year-old Dominic at some formal event. "I was sad sometimes. My parents traveled a lot for business. I spent most of my time with nannies and my grandmother." "Is that why you wanted to have kids? So they wouldn't be lonely like you were?" Dominic's voice was rough. "Yes, exactly that. But then you didn't know about me." "No, and I'm so sorry for that. Mommy says you made a mistake." "What mistake did you make?" I tensed, wondering how Dominic would answer. This was the moment. The explanation Sophie deserved but might not understand. "I made the mistake of believing lies instead of trusting the truth," Dominic said carefully. "Someone told me that your mommy had done something wrong. And instead of asking her about it, instead of waiting to hear her side of the story, I just believed the lie. I made a decision based on bad information, and by the time I realized the truth, You were already born and I didn't know you existed. What did they say Mommy did? They said she was spending time with someone she shouldn't be spending time with, but they were lying. Your mommy was working, doing her job, being exactly who she's always been, honest and good and talented. But I didn't wait to find out the truth. Sophie processed this with a child's logic. That was dumb. Dominic's laugh was surprised and pained. Yes, it was very dumb. Probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. Did you tell the person who lied to you that they were wrong? I did, and I'm making sure they can never lie to me like that again. Good. Lies are bad. Mommy says the most important thing is telling the truth, even when it's hard. Your mommy is very smart. They continued talking. Dominic told stories about his childhood. Sophie told stories about her school and her friends, and her art teacher who said she had real talent. I watched them build something fragile and new, a relationship based on truth this time, on showing up, on really seeing each other. When the hour ended, Sophie hugged Dominic goodbye, with less hesitation than the week before. Same time next week, she asked. If your mom allows it. She will. She's tough, but she's fair. After Sophie ran back to the playground, Dominic turned to me. She's right. You are tough but fair. I have to be. For her. I know. Belle, can I ask you something? What? The art show. The one Sophie mentioned. Can I come? I know it's more than our Saturday meetings. I know I'm asking for more than I've earned, but I don't want to miss it. I've already missed 6 years of moments like that. I thought about it, weighed the risks, considered Sophie's joy at having her father there. If you come, people will ask questions. Parents, teachers, they'll want to know who you are. I'll tell them I'm Sophie's father. That opens a whole other door, Dominic. People will recognize your name. They'll make connections. Sophie's life will change. Only if we let it. Only if we make it about who I am instead of who Sophie is. I can just be another parent at a school art show. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Everything about you is complicated. Then let me try to be simple. For one evening, for our daughter. Our daughter. The phrase still felt foreign. 6 years of my daughter, mine alone. Now suddenly ours. The art show is 3 weeks from Saturday, 7 p.m. Woodbridge Elementary School. Don't be late. I'll be early. Don't be early either. Be on time. On time, I understand. He started to leave, then turned back. Belle, I'm filing the divorce from Vanessa. It'll be final in 6 months. I wanted you to know. That's not my business. It is if I'm going to be in Sophie's life. She needs to know what my situation is. Whether I'm married. Whether there's going to be complications. There will always be complications when a child has a half-sibling. I know, but I'm trying to minimize them. Trying to make sure Sophie knows she's my priority. Show me, don't tell me. Every day, Belle. I'll show you every day. 3 weeks passed in a pattern that became almost comfortable. Every Saturday, at 2 p.m., Dominic appeared at the park. Always on time. Never early, never late. Always bringing something small but thoughtful. A book about famous artists. Tickets to a children's museum exhibit. A set of colored pencils that cost more than my monthly grocery budget, but that Sophie treasured like gold. He never pushed for more time than I allowed. Never asked to take Sophie anywhere alone. Never tried to use her to get closer to me. He respected every boundary I set, and somehow that made the boundaries feel less necessary. Sophie bloomed under his attention. She talked about Daddy constantly now. Daddy said this. Daddy thinks that. Daddy promised to teach her about architecture because buildings are art too. I watched my daughter fall in love with her father, and I didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. The night before the art show, Sophie was too excited to sleep. She had arranged and rearranged her paintings a dozen times, trying to decide which ones to display. What if Daddy doesn't like them? She worried, sitting on her bed in pajamas covered with paint palettes. He'll love them. He loves everything you create. But what if the other paintings are better? What if mine look babyish? I sat beside her and pulled her close. Sophie, your paintings are uniquely yours. They show how you see the world. That's what makes them special. Not whether they're better or worse than anyone else's. Did Daddy ever see your art when you were married? The question caught me off guard. Sophie rarely asked about my marriage to Dominic. She seemed to understand instinctively that it was painful territory. Yes. He used to come to my studio and watch me work. He said it was like watching magic happen. Do you miss that? When he watched you? Sometimes. It was nice to be seen by someone who appreciated what I was doing. He still sees you, Mommy. I watch him watching you at the park. He looks at you the way you taught me to look at paintings, like he's trying to understand all the layers. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't want to think about Dominic looking at me with anything other than regret and guilt. Get some sleep, baby. Tomorrow is your big night. Will you be proud of me? Even if my paintings aren't the best? I'm already proud of you. Every single day. The art show was held in the Woodbridge Elementary Gymnasium, transformed with carefully hung children's artwork and proud parents holding phones to capture every moment. The air smelled like tempera paint and elementary school cafeteria. Colorful construction paper lined the walls. Teachers circulated with encouraging smiles. Sophie's section was in the far corner. 6 paintings arranged in chronological order from September to May. I could see her growth as an artist in each piece. From simple color experiments to the complex emotional landscapes that had become her signature style. We arrived 30 minutes early. Sophie wanted to make sure her paintings were perfectly straight, that the lighting was right, that her artist statement was readable. At exactly 7 p.m., Dominic walked through the gymnasium door. He wasn't alone. Eleanor Castellano walked beside him, moving slowly but with that same commanding presence she'd always had. Behind them was a woman I didn't recognize, younger, professional, carrying a sleek leather bag. My body went rigid. You said you'd come alone. Dominic saw my expression and quickly approached, hands raised in a calming gesture. Belle, I'm sorry. I should have called first. This is Dr. Sarah Chen. Sophie's grandmother wanted to meet her, and I thought maybe it was time, but I should have asked. I'm sorry. Eleanor stepped forward before I could respond. Miss Morrison, Isabel, I know I'm the last person you want to see. I know I have no right to be here. But Sophie is my great-granddaughter, and I needed to meet her, to see what I almost destroyed by destroying your marriage. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up at my daughter's school event and… Mommy? Sophie's voice cut through my rising anger. She stood a few feet away, looking between us with confusion and concern. Is everything okay? I forced my voice to stay calm. Everything's fine, baby. Your daddy brought some guests. Sophie looked at Eleanor with open curiosity. Are you my grandmother? Eleanor's composure cracked completely. Tears filled her eyes as she looked at this child she'd never known existed. I'm your great-grandmother, actually. Your daddy's grandmother. Oh, do I call you great-grandma? That seems long. You can call me Eleanor. Or Nana if you'd like. That's Italian for grandmother. Sophie considered this. I like Nana. It sounds fancy. Do you want to see my paintings? Just like that. No hesitation. No suspicion. Just a child's simple acceptance of a new person in her life. Eleanor looked at me, silently asking permission. I wanted to say no. Wanted to protect Sophie from this woman who had destroyed so much. But Sophie was already taking Eleanor's hand, pulling her toward the display. This one is my favorite. It's called The Space Between Anger and Forgiveness. See how the red and the blue never quite touch? That's because sometimes you're angry at someone, but you want to forgive them, but you're not ready yet, so you just stay in the space between. Eleanor stared at the painting with wonder. Sophie, this is remarkable. The emotional sophistication, the technical skill. You're only 6 years old? 6.5. The half is important. Of course it is. I watched Eleanor transform as Sophie explained each painting. The Imperious Society matriarch melted away, replaced by a great-grandmother who was seeing a part of herself in this artistic, brilliant child. Dominic appeared at my elbow. I'm sorry. I should have asked. Eleanor has been different since the hospital, since she confessed what she did. She's been broken almost. Asking about Sophie constantly. I thought meeting her might what? Make her feel better about destroying my life? No. Make her understand what her lies actually cost. Not just you and me, but Sophie. 6 years of Sophie not knowing her family. I am her family. I was enough. You were more than enough. You were everything. But Sophie deserves to know all the people who love her, even the ones who made terrible mistakes. Other parents were starting to arrive, milling around the artwork with proud smiles and cameras. I saw several people recognize Dominic, saw whispers start to circulate. Dominic Castellano at an elementary school art show. That would be gossip for weeks. Sophie's teacher, Miss Rodriguez, approached with a warm smile. You must be Sophie's parents. I'm so glad you could both make it. Sophie is incredibly talented. One of the most naturally gifted students I've had in 20 years of teaching. Thank you, I said. Art is her passion. It shows. And Mr. Morrison, Sophie speaks about you constantly. She's so excited you're here. Dominic and I both opened our mouths to correct her, then stopped. Let her think we were married. Let this night be simple. I wouldn't have missed it, Dominic said smoothly. The art show officially began with the principal's welcome speech. Parents circulated through the gymnasium, admiring their children's work with the proud bias of people who thought every finger painting was a masterpiece. But when people reached Sophie's section, they stopped. Really stopped. Even parents with no artistic training could see that something was different about her work. The emotional depth, the technical skill, the way she used color to convey feelings most adults struggled to articulate. Excuse me, are you Sophie Morrison's parents? A well-dressed woman approached, extending a business card. I'm Catherine Way, director of the Young Artists Collective. We provide advanced instruction and mentorship for gifted young artists. I'd love to talk to you about Sophie potentially joining our summer intensive program. Before I could respond, another person approached. Then another. Gallery owners, art teachers, people who worked in museums and foundations. All of them had noticed Sophie's work. All of them wanted to talk about her future. I watched my daughter handle the attention with remarkable grace. She answered questions about her technique, explained her artistic philosophy with words too sophisticated for a 6-year-old, demonstrated the self-assurance of someone who knew exactly who she was. She gets that from you, Dominic said quietly. That confidence, that certainty about her talent. She gets the talent from both of us, but the confidence that she earned herself. Belle, he stopped himself. Started again. Watching her tonight, seeing what you've raised, what you've nurtured in her. I've never been more aware of what I missed, what I threw away. Don't do this here. Not tonight. I know. I'm sorry. I just needed you to know that I see it. I see what an incredible mother you are. What an incredible person Sophie is becoming because of you. Eleanor appeared with Sophie in tow. Isabel, I wonder if we might speak privately for a moment. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. 5 minutes. I owe you that much. More than that, but I'll take what you'll give me. Sophie was already being pulled away by her friend Zoe to see the second-grade artwork. I reluctantly followed Eleanor to a quiet corner of the gymnasium. Thank you for letting me meet her, Eleanor said without preamble. I know I don't deserve it. You don't. I've spent 6 years convinced I did the right thing. Convincing myself that removing you from Dominic's life was protecting him, protecting our family legacy. I told myself the ends justified the means. And now? Now I've met Sophie. Now I've seen what my lies actually cost. Not just you losing a husband, not just Dominic losing a wife, but Sophie losing 6 years with her father, with her family, with people who would have loved her from the moment she was born. If you're looking for forgiveness, you're not going to find it. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm looking to understand how to move forward, how to be part of Sophie's life without causing more damage, how to support you and Dominic in whatever form your family takes. We're not a family. We're two people co-parenting a child. That's all. Is it? Because I watched the way Dominic looks at you. The way you look at him when you think no one is watching. I see two people who loved each other deeply, who were torn apart by lies, who might what? Magically fall back in love? This isn't a fairy tale, Eleanor. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. I used to believe that too. But watching Sophie tonight, seeing her paint the space between anger and forgiveness, I wonder if maybe she understands something we don't. That the space between is where healing happens, where you decide whether to hold on to the pain or make room for something new. Before I could respond, Sophie ran up with a ribbon. Mommy, I won. First place in the primary grades category. I scooped her up despite her protests that she was too big to be carried. I'm so proud of you, baby. Is Daddy still here? I want to show him my ribbon. I'm here, sweetheart. Dominic appeared with a smile that transformed his entire face. First place. I'm not surprised at all. Your work is extraordinary. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Please? All of us. The question hung in the air. All of us. Me, Dominic, Sophie, and apparently Eleanor. A family that wasn't quite a family, celebrating a moment that should have been simple but was complicated by 6 years of history. I don't think. I started. Please, Mommy? It's my special night. I want ice cream with my family. My family. The words from her 6-year-old mouth carried weight I wasn't prepared for. Just ice cream, I said finally. 1 hour. That's all. We ended up at a small Italian gelato place 3 blocks from the school. The kind of place with tiny metal tables and family recipes brought over from Naples. Sophie ordered stracciatella, with rainbow sprinkles, a combination that made the owner wince but smile indulgently. Eleanor told stories about Dominic as a child, carefully edited versions that left out the loneliness and isolation. Dominic asked Sophie about her other paintings, the ones not in the show. Sophie chattered about her summer plans and her art camp and her dream of maybe going to Paris someday to see the Louvre. I sat back and watched my daughter experience something she'd never had before. Extended family. Multiple generations around a table. The casual ease of people who belong to each other. It was everything I'd wanted for her. Everything I'd tried to build alone. And now it was happening, and I didn't know how to feel about it. Mommy, you're quiet, Sophie observed, gelato on her chin. Just thinking, baby. About what? About how happy you look. I am happy. This is the best night ever. My paintings won. I got gelato. And I have my whole family here. She looked around the table with satisfaction. All the important people all in one place. After Eleanor left in a car service, citing her age and the late hour, Dominic walked Sophie and me back to where I'd parked. Can Daddy come over? Sophie asked, yawning despite the sugar. Just for a little bit? Sophie, it's late. You have school tomorrow. But I want to show him my room, and my other paintings, and my art corner. Another time, baby. But Daddy hasn't seen where we live. Don't you want to see where we live, Daddy? Dominic looked at me, silently asking permission. I should have said no, should have maintained boundaries, should have protected the life I'd built. 20 minutes, I heard myself say. Then it's bedtime. Our apartment was everything the Castellano penthouse wasn't. Small, cluttered with art supplies and life. Colorful and warm and lived in. I watched Dominic take it all in, trying to see it through his eyes. The second-hand furniture I'd refinanced carefully. The walls covered with Sophie's artwork. The kitchen where we made breakfast together every Saturday. This was the life I'd built from nothing, the home we'd made. And I was letting him see it. It's perfect, Dominic said quietly. It's so completely you, both of you. Sophie dragged him to her room, showing him her art corner with supplies organized by color, her bookshelf arranged by size, her bed with a constellation quilt I'd sewn when she was 3. This is where I sleep, and this is where I paint, and this is where I keep special things. She pulled out a small wooden box and opened it carefully. Inside were treasures only a 6-year-old would understand. A smooth rock from the beach, a bird feather, a dried flower. And at the bottom, a photograph. Dominic picked it up gently. It was our wedding photo, the only one I'd kept. Young and happy and so completely naive about what was coming. Where did you get this? I asked Sophie. I found it in your closet when I was looking for dress-up clothes. You both look so happy. Is that the day you got married? Yes, Dominic said, his voice rough. That was the happiest day of my life. Until today. Until I got to see your art show and have gelato with you and see where you live. Why did you stop being married? There it was. The question I'd been dreading. The one Sophie had danced around but never quite asked directly. Sometimes adults make mistakes, I said carefully. And sometimes, those mistakes mean they can't be married anymore. But you're not mad at each other now, right? You seem like friends. Dominic and I exchanged glances. We're working on being friends, I said. For you. Zoe's parents are divorced, but they're friends. They have dinner together sometimes. For Zoe. Could we have dinner together, the 3 of us? Maybe someday. That means no. It means maybe. Let's see how things go. After Dominic left, with Sophie's enthusiastic hug and promises to see him on Saturday, I tucked my daughter into bed. Mommy, do you think Daddy will keep coming around? I think so. He seems really committed to being part of your life. Good. Because I like having a daddy. It makes me feel complete. Like I was missing a piece and now I found it. She fell asleep within minutes, exhausted from excitement and sugar and emotion. I sat in the living room, looking at my phone where Dominic had sent a text. Thank you for tonight. For letting me into your home. Into the life you've built. Seeing Sophie's room, her art corner, the way she's organized her world, it made her real in a way she hasn't been before. Not just an abstract daughter I didn't know existed, but a real little girl with favorite colors and gelato preferences and a treasure box. I want to know everything about her, Belle. Every detail. Every story. I want to make up for 6 years of not knowing. And I want to find a way back to you too. I know I don't deserve it. I know I destroyed what we had. But watching you with Sophie tonight, seeing the mother you've become, the woman you've always been, I fell in love with you all over again. I never stopped loving you, but tonight I remembered why I fell in love in the first place. Your strength, your grace, your ability to build beauty from broken things. I know this is too much. I know you're not ready to hear it, but I needed to say it. I love you, Belle. I've loved you for 6 years while married to someone else. I'll love you for the rest of my life, even if you never love me back. But I'm hoping, desperately hoping, that maybe the space between anger and forgiveness is big enough for love to grow again. I read the message 3 times. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed without responding. Some things were too complicated to answer at midnight. The weeks that followed established a new rhythm. Saturday park visits continued. But now there were also Thursday evening dinners. The 3 of us at casual restaurants where Sophie could be herself without judgment. Where Dominic learned her food preferences, her tendency to order the same thing every time, her habit of drawing on napkins while waiting for food. He showed up to her soccer game, even though she was terrible at soccer, and spent most of the game picking dandelions in the outfield. He came to her piano recital, where she played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, with 3 wrong notes and a proud smile. He was present, reliably, consistently present. And against every instinct I had, I started to trust it. One Thursday, Sophie had a sleepover at Zoe's house, leaving Dominic and me alone at a restaurant with reservations we couldn't cancel. We don't have to do this, I said. We can cancel, go home, or we could have dinner. 2 adults who share a daughter. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But of course, it was more complicated. It was always going to be complicated. We ordered food we barely tasted, made conversation that felt too careful, avoided the real subjects lurking beneath the surface. Finally, over dessert, neither of us wanted, Dominic broke. I can't keep pretending. I can't sit here and make small talk when there's so much I need to say to you. Dominic. Please. Just let me say this. You don't have to respond. You don't have to feel anything. Just let me say what I should have said 6 years ago. I nodded, not trusting my voice. I was wrong. About everything. I was wrong to believe Eleanor's lies without questioning them. Wrong to look at fabricated evidence and accept it as truth. Wrong to serve you divorce papers without giving you a chance to defend yourself. Wrong to marry Vanessa. Wrong to build a life based on what my family wanted instead of what my heart knew was right. He paused, gathering courage. But the worst thing I did, the thing I can't forgive myself for, was calling you barren, defective, unable to give me what I needed. I treated you like a failed business transaction instead of the woman I loved. I reduced you to your biological functions and threw you away when I thought you couldn't perform them. That cruelty, that fundamental disrespect, I can never take it back. I can never undo the damage those words did. No, I said quietly, you can't. But I can spend the rest of my life trying to show you that I'm not that man anymore. That I've learned, too late, that value isn't measured in heirs or empires. It's measured in kindness, in trust, in showing up, in really seeing the people we love instead of what they can provide. What do you want from me, Dominic? I want a second chance, not just with Sophie, but with you. I want to prove that I've changed, that I'm capable of being the man you deserved 6 years ago. And if I can't give you that, if the damage is too deep, then I'll accept it. I'll be the best father I can be to Sophie and I'll respect whatever boundaries you need. But Belle, I have to try. I have to know that I fought for you this time instead of giving up. I looked at this man across the table, Saw the gray at his temples that hadn't been there before. The lines around his eyes, the weight of 6 years of regret. I don't know if I can trust you again. I know. I don't know if I can forget the things you said, the way you looked at me when you served those divorce papers. I don't expect you to forget. I just hope, maybe, you can make room for new memories. Better ones. I'm scared, Dominic. I'm scared of letting you in and having you leave again. I'm scared of Sophie getting attached and you disappointing her. I'm scared of being that young, naive woman who loved you so completely that losing you almost destroyed her. I'm scared too. I'm terrified of messing this up. Of proving I haven't changed. Of losing you and Sophie all over again. But I'd rather be scared and trying than safe and alone. We sat in silence, the restaurant noise swirling around us. I'm not ready, I said finally. I'm not ready to trust you with my heart again. Maybe I never will be. But I'm willing to see if the space between anger and forgiveness is big enough for something new. Not what we had before. That's gone. But maybe something different. Something built on truth this time. Dominic's smile was tentative, hopeful. That's enough. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. Share this story with someone who believes broken things can be made beautiful again. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in second chances earned through action, not words. And comment below, do you think Belle is making the right choice? Can trust be rebuilt after it's been shattered? I need to hear your thoughts. 3 months later, Dominic's divorce from Vanessa was finalized. She had given birth to a son 2 weeks earlier, a boy with Dominic's dark hair and Vanessa's cold eyes. Dominic sent me a picture with a simple message. His name is Lucas. Sophie has a half-brother. I know this complicates things, but I want Sophie to know him, to be part of his life if you'll allow it. No pressure. Just putting it out there. I showed Sophie the picture that evening. That's my brother? Half-brother. You have the same daddy, but different mommies. Sophie studied the photo with serious interest. He's really small. All babies are small at first. Will I get to meet him? Do you want to? Yeah. I've always wanted a sibling. I used to ask you for a baby brother or sister, remember? I remember. This is almost like that. Can we meet him soon? 3 weeks later, we met Vanessa and Lucas at a neutral location. A park with a playground and enough space that we didn't have to be close if tension arose. Vanessa looked different. Tired. Real. The perfect mask had slipped to reveal a woman who was clearly struggling with new motherhood. Thank you for coming, she said stiffly. Dominic thought the children should know each other. Sophie was excited to meet her brother. Sophie approached the stroller with the careful reverence children show to babies. Hi, Lucas. I'm your big sister. I'm going to teach you about art and colors and how to stand up to bullies at school. Despite everything, Vanessa smiled. That's sweet. We sat on a park bench while Sophie played nearby, watching Lucas with protective interest. I owe you an apology, Vanessa said suddenly. For what? For trying to buy your daughter's blood. For making threats about telling Dominic. For all of it, I was scared and angry and trying to control a situation that was spiraling. Why are you telling me this? Because motherhood has a way of clarifying things, making you realize what actually matters. I don't love Dominic. I probably never did. I married him for the wrong reasons and made both of us miserable. But Lucas, he deserves better. He deserves to know his father and his sister. And I don't want my mistakes to cost him the way Eleanor's mistakes cost Sophie. I looked at this woman who had everything I lost and found myself feeling something unexpected. Sympathy. It's not easy, is it? Being solely responsible for a tiny human. It's terrifying. How did you do it? Alone for 6 years? You do what you have to do. You find strength you didn't know you had. You build a life one day at a time. Did you ever regret not telling Dominic about Sophie? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. Sometimes, but mostly no. I did what I thought was right to protect her. And I'd make the same choice again. He's different now. With you, with Sophie. I see the man he probably was before his family got their hooks in him. Before Eleanor's manipulation. Before the pressure to be a certain kind of CEO. A certain kind of Castellano. People can change, if they want it badly enough. Do you think you two will? I don't know. We're taking it slow. Building trust. Seeing if what we had can be rebuilt into something new. I hope it can be. Not because I want Dominic back, but because Sophie deserves to have her parents together. And because you two look at each other like the world stops when you're in the same room. 6 months after the art show, Dominic asked if he could take Sophie on a weekend trip to his family's beach house in the Hamptons. Just the two of us, he explained. Father-daughter bonding. She mentioned wanting to paint the ocean, and I thought, you want to take her away for an entire weekend? With your permission. I know it's a lot. I know you've never been apart from her for that long. But Belle, I'm her father, and I want to build memories with her. Real memories. The kind that don't fit into Saturday afternoons and Thursday dinners. I looked at Sophie, who was listening with barely contained excitement. Can I, Mommy, please? Daddy says the house is right on the beach. I could paint the sunrise and the sunset and the way the light changes on the water. Every protective instinct screamed no. But I looked at Dominic, at the man who had shown up consistently for 9 months, who had never been late, never canceled, never proven unreliable. One weekend, you call me every night, you send pictures. And if she wants to come home early, you bring her home immediately. Deal. That weekend alone in my apartment was the longest of my life. I cleaned obsessively, reorganized my gallery inventory, stared at my phone waiting for updates. Dominic sent photos. Sophie on the beach, painting with her portable easel. Sophie and Dominic building sandcastles. Sophie asleep on the couch after a long day in the sun, using Dominic's jacket as a blanket. When they returned Sunday evening, Sophie burst through my door chattering nonstop about the weekend. Mommy, it was amazing. We painted and swam, and Daddy taught me about tide pools, and we made s'mores and stayed up late looking at stars. Can we go back, please? Can we make it a regular thing? After Sophie went to bed, exhausted and happy, Dominic lingered at my door. Thank you for trusting me with her. You earned it. Belle, he paused. Started again. This weekend, having Sophie to myself, being her father without schedules or time limits, it was everything I didn't know I was missing. But the whole time, I kept wishing you were there. To see her paint the sunrise, to laugh at the seagull that stole our sandwiches, to put her to bed, and then sit on the deck and talk like we used to. Dominic. I know you're not ready, but I need you to know that when I imagine my future, you're in it. Not just as Sophie's mother, but as the woman I love. The woman I never stopped loving. You're making this complicated. It's always been complicated. I'm just finally being honest about it. Before I could respond, he kissed my forehead gently and left. I stood in my doorway for a long time after he was gone, touching the place his lips had been, wondering if I was brave enough to let myself hope again. The answer came 2 weeks later in the most unexpected way. I was at my gallery when a woman walked in, professional, mid-50s, carrying a leather portfolio. Miss Morrison? I'm Janet Williams from the Art Institute of Chicago. I'm curating an exhibit on contemporary women artists who work in emotional landscapes. I've seen Sophie's work, and I'd like to include several pieces in our show. Sophie is 6 years old. I know. That's part of what makes her work so remarkable. She's processing and expressing emotions that most adults struggle to articulate. I'd like to feature her as our youngest artist, with your permission. This is huge, the Art Institute of Chicago. It is, and if you're interested, we'd like to fly you and Sophie out for the opening. All expenses paid. Media coverage. The works. After Janet left, I called Dominic without thinking. Belle? Is everything okay? The Art Institute of Chicago wants to feature Sophie in an exhibit. An actual professional exhibit at one of the most prestigious museums in the country. That's incredible. When? 3 months from now. They want to fly us out for the opening. I'm coming with you. Dominic. No arguments. Our daughter is being featured in a major museum. I'm not missing it. Let me be there for this. Please. Our daughter. The phrase came so naturally now. Okay, I said. You can come. 3 months later, we stood in the Art Institute of Chicago, watching strangers admire Sophie's paintings with the same reverence they showed to the Monets and Picassos hanging nearby. Sophie was in her element, explaining her technique to curious museum-goers with confidence and grace. Dominic held my hand without asking permission, and I didn't pull away. We made her, he said quietly. We made this incredible human being. I made her. You just provided the genetic material. Belle? I'm kidding, mostly. You've been a good father these past months. Better than I thought you could be. High praise from you. Don't get cocky. We watched Sophie Charm, an art critic with her explanation of color theory. Watched her sign autographs for children who saw her as proof that age didn't matter if you had talent and passion. That night, after Sophie was asleep in our hotel room, Dominic knocked on my door. I know it's late, but there's something I need to show you. He led me to the hotel rooftop, where he'd somehow arranged a private dinner. Candles, wine, the Chicago skyline glittering around us. What is this? This is me doing what I should have done 6 years ago. Fighting for you. Showing you that you matter. That we matter. Dominic. I know you're scared. I know I broke your trust in ways that might never fully heal. But Belle, I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to let me build something new. Something better. Something based on truth and consistency, and showing up every single day. He pulled out a small box, and my breath caught. I'm not proposing, not yet. You're not ready for that, and I respect it. But this is a promise ring. A promise that I'm not going anywhere. That I will be here for Sophie, for you, for us, for as long as you'll let me. A promise that I've learned from my mistakes. That I choose truth over convenience. That I choose you over everything else. The ring was simple, a sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds, beautiful and understated, and so completely different from the massive engagement ring he'd given me 7 years ago. It's beautiful. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to accept it. But I wanted you to have it. To know that I'm here. I'm not leaving. I'm not giving up. I looked at this man who had destroyed me and then spent months rebuilding what he'd broken. Not our old relationship. That was gone. But something new. Something stronger because it was built on truth. I'm still scared, I admitted. I know. I still have moments where I see that man who called me barren. I know. But I also see the man who shows up for Sophie. Who learns her favorite colors and her food preferences and the way she organizes her art supplies. I see the man who sent me pictures every hour during their beach weekend because he knew I was worried. I see someone who's trying. I'm trying. Every day. I took the ring box from his hands and opened it. The sapphire caught the candlelight, sending tiny rainbows across my fingers. I'll wear it. Not as an engagement ring. Not as a promise that we'll get back together. But as an acknowledgement that I'm trying to. That I'm willing to see if the space between anger and forgiveness is big enough for love to grow again. Dominic's smile could have lit the entire city. That's enough. That's more than enough. He slipped the ring onto my right hand. Not my left. Not yet, but a step forward. A tiny, terrifying step forward. If this story has touched your heart, I need you to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I share stories like this every week. Stories about love that survives the impossible. About broken things being made whole. About second chances earned through action, not words. Share this with someone who needs to know that it's never too late to fight for what matters. And comment below, tell me, do you believe Belle and Dominic will make it? Is love enough to overcome betrayal? I read every single comment, and I want to hear your story. 1 year after the hospital. 1 year after Sophie's blood saved her father's life. 1 year after truth finally destroyed the lies. We were back at the same park. The same bench where Dominic first met Sophie as her father, but everything was different. Sophie was 7 now, preparing for her second Art Institute exhibit. She had a brother she adored, teaching Lucas about colors despite his being only 1 year old. She had a father who knew her favorite bedtime stories in the exact way she liked her pancakes. And I had something, not quite what we had before, but maybe something better. Belle, Dominic said, taking my hand, the one that wore his sapphire ring. I have something to ask you. You've been very mysterious about this picnic. That's because it's not just a picnic. He stood up, and my heart started racing. A year ago, I was dying. A year ago, I learned I had a daughter I never knew existed. A year ago, I discovered that everything I thought I knew was a lie. It was the worst day and the best day of my life. Dominic, I know I said I wouldn't propose until you were ready, but Belle, I've been ready for 6 years. I've been ready since the moment I signed those divorce papers and immediately regretted it. I've been ready since I saw you in that hospital corridor holding our daughter. I've been ready through every Saturday, park visit, in Thursday dinner and moment of building trust. He pulled out another ring box. This isn't like before. I'm not the man I was 7 years ago. You're not the woman you were. We're different people who've been broken and rebuilt, but we're better people. Stronger people. People who've learned that trust is earned through consistent action. That love isn't enough without respect and truth and showing up. He opened the box to reveal a ring that perfectly matched the sapphire I wore. 2 parts of a whole. Isabel Morrison, will you marry me? Not because it makes sense strategically, not because our families approve, not because we're supposed to, but because I love you. Because you're the strongest person I know. Because you built a life from nothing and raised an incredible daughter and became everything you always said you would be. Because I want to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. Will you marry me? I looked at this man on one knee. Looked at Sophie watching from the playground, barely containing her excitement. Looked at the life we'd built from broken pieces. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Sophie's cheer could be heard across the entire park. 6 months later, we remarried in a small ceremony. Not the society wedding we'd had the first time. Just close friends and family. Eleanor in the front row, holding Lucas and crying. Sophie as our flower girl, wearing a dress she'd designed herself. Our vows were different this time. Not promises about sickness and health, but promises about truth and trust and choosing each other every day. I promised to wait for the truth before believing lies, Dominic said. I promise to let you in, even when I'm scared, I said. I promise to show up. On time. Every time. I promise to believe in second chances. I promise to spend the rest of my life earning your trust. I promise to let you try. When the officiant pronounced us married, Sophie threw paint-stained flower petals and Lucas grabbed at the colors with chubby hands. We were a family, not perfect, not without scars, but real, built on truth this time, on consistent action, on love that survived betrayal and distance in 6 years of separation. We did it, Dominic whispered as we danced our first dance. Did what? Built something more beautiful from the broken pieces, just like you always said was possible with art. Some paintings can't be restored to what they were, but they can become something new. Something stronger. Are you comparing our marriage to art restoration? I'm comparing it to what you do every day. Taking something broken and finding the truth underneath. Deciding what's worth saving and what needs to be let go. Creating beauty from damage. I looked around the small reception. Sophie painting at a kid's table Eleanor had set up. Lucas sleeping through the music. Friends celebrating something they thought was a first wedding, not knowing this was our second chance. You're right, I said. This is better than the original, because we know what it costs. We know what we almost lost, and we choose it anyway. Every day? Every single day. And we did. There were hard moments, times when old wounds reopened, times when I couldn't look at Dominic without seeing the man who called me barren, times when he couldn't forgive himself for missing Sophie's first 6 years. But we chose each other anyway. Through Sophie's third Art Institute exhibit. Through Lucas's first steps. Through opening a joint gallery where we authenticated art together, my expertise combined with his business acumen. We chose each other when Eleanor passed away 3 years later, her final words an apology and a blessing for the family she almost destroyed. We chose each other through Sophie's acceptance to an elite art high school. Through Lucas asking why his last name was different from his sister's, and how we explained blended families and second chances. We chose each other every single day, building a life not from fantasy but from truth. 10 years after that hospital transfusion, Sophie stood in her first solo gallery show in New York. 16 years old, and already being called one of the most promising artists of her generation. The centerpiece of her show was a massive painting titled The Space Between. Abstract and powerful, showing the journey from anger through forgiveness to love. It's about you and Dad, she explained to a reporter. About how they found their way back to each other. How my blood saved Dad's life, but their choice to forgive saved all of us. Dominic and I stood in front of the painting, holding hands, watching our daughter explain the artistic philosophy we taught her through living it. No regrets? I asked quietly. Only the 6 years I missed. But not the journey that brought us here. Not the woman you became. Not the family we built. Even though it was hard? Especially because it was hard. Easy love doesn't survive. Hard love, fought for love, chosen everyday love, that's the kind that lasts. He was right. We had built something that lasted. Not despite the broken pieces, but because of them. Because we'd learned that truth matters more than comfort. That showing up matters more than grand gestures. That love is a choice you make every single day, even when it's terrifying. Some paintings can be restored. Some are too damaged. Ours wasn't restored. It was completely reimagined. Rebuilt from broken pieces into something more beautiful than the original. And that was worth everything. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in second chances and the power of forgiveness, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about love that survives the impossible. And tell me in the comments, what's the lesson you're taking from Belle and Dominic's story? Is it that some things are worth fighting for? That broken trust can be rebuilt? That children sometimes see truth adults miss? Whatever you take from this story, remember this. You are not defined by what breaks you. You're defined by how you rebuild. Belle was called barren by the man she loved. 10 years later, she had a thriving family, a successful business, and a love story that survived betrayal. Some things, once broken, stay broken. But some things, with patience and truth and daily choice, can become even more beautiful than they were before. This has been the story of Isabel Morrison and Dominic Castellano, a story of blood transfusions and secret daughters, of lies and truth, of breaking and rebuilding, of love that died and love that was reborn. Thank you for being part of their journey. Until next time, believe in second chances, but make sure they're earned.